Nothing really is a shame. So never get tired.
Let us enter into worship with words of Kenneth L. Patton. Let us worship with our eyes and ears and fingertips. Let us love the world through heart and mind and body. We feed our eyes upon the mystery and the revelation in the faces of our siblings. We seek to know the wistfulness of people in all times of life. We seek to understand shyness behind arrogance, the fear behind pride, the tenderness behind clumsy strength, the anguish behind cruelty. All life flows into a great common life if only we open our eyes and our ears to our companions. Let us worship, not bowing down, not with closed eyes and stopped ears. Let us worship with the opening of all the windows within our beings, with the full outstretching of our spirits. Life comes with singing and laughter, with tears and confiding, with a rising wave too great to be held in the mind and heart and body, to those who have fallen in love with life. Let us worship and let us learn to love. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit to join our voices in our opening hymn, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In, number 361 in your gray hymnal.
Abundance of rest, abundance of health.
Please remain standing as Eric Smith lights our chalice. In the words of Pat Urib Lichty, we come from many places, along different paths, different truths. We come with different histories and different realities, and yet we come together as one people, with faith that we can use our differences to heal ourselves and each other, to bring wholeness to a fractured world. We come seeking to find community, to find acceptance of who we are, in this place we may find others who are much like us and others who are much different. May our lit chalice remind us that we are a people taught by different stories with many voices, but always one people, working for a world where love creates justice and justice gives birth to peace.
It's now time for our story for all ages. I invite you to gather around as we hear a special story called Philemon and Baucis, a story of kindness, poverty, and hospitality, arranged by N.S. Gill. According to ancient Roman mythology and Ovid's Metamorphoses, Philemon and Baucis had lived out their long lives nobly, but in poverty. Jupiter, the Roman king of the gods, had heard of the virtuous couple, but based on all his previous experiences with humans, he had serious doubts as to their goodness. Jupiter was about to destroy humankind, but was willing to give it one final chance before starting over again. So, in the company of his son Mercury, the wing-footed messenger god, Jupiter went out, disguised as a worn and weary traveler, from house to house among the neighbors of Philemon and Baucis. As Jupiter feared and expected, the neighbors turned him and Mercury away rudely. Then the two gods went to the last house, the cottage of Philemon and Baucis, where the couple had lived all their long married years. Philemon and Baucis were pleased to have visitors and insisted that their guests rest before their little hearth fire. They even lugged in more of their precious firewood to make a greater blaze. Unasked, Philemon and Baucis then served their presumably starving guests fresh fruits, olives, eggs, and wine. Soon the couple noticed that no matter how often they poured from it, the wine pitcher was never empty. They began to suspect that their guests might be more than mere mortals. Just in case, Philemon and Baucis decided to provide the closest they could come to a meal that was fit for a god. They would catch and cook their only goose in the guest's honor. Unfortunately, the legs of the goose were faster than those of Philemon or Baucis. Even though the humans were not as fast, they were smarter, and so they cornered the goose inside the cottage. They were just about to catch it. At the last moment, the goose sought the shelter of the divine guests. To save the life of the goose, Jupiter and Mercury revealed themselves and immediately expressed their pleasure in meeting an honorable human pair. Asked what divine favor they wanted, the couple said that they wished to become temple priests and die together. Their wish was granted, and when they died, they were turned into intertwining trees. What is the moral of this story? Treat everyone well, because you never know when you'll find yourself in the presence of a God. Thanks for listening. Please remain seated for our prayer hymn number 123, Spirit of Life, in the gray hymnal. In the silence that follows the spoken prayer, you are invited to come forward and light a candle for any joys or concerns you hold in your heart this morning. Great mystery, blessed being beyond our understanding, may we know your sacred presence in our spirits, held in your endless divine embrace of love and compassion. We give thanks for the flame of hope and strength you ignite, and for the many forms your love takes that shapes us and guides us. A love that transcends all that is, tending to each blessed soul. We pray that you find and recognize us just as we pray that we may find and recognize you in a kindred soul, in the eyes of a beloved, of a stranger. May everyone be welcome at the table of the divine. At your table, no one left out, excluded, uninvited, for gracious being, we know you love us all. Remind us through strife and anger and prejudice that we are more alike than we are different, and that we are each blessed children of the same sacred Creator. And we offer you, great breath of life, a space to bless us with your presence. And may we be offered the blessing of knowing we are always held within the divine, that all that is sacred will always find us, recognize us, and love us, just as we are called to love every blessed being on this wondrous earth. We are here on this hallowed day to invite all that is sacred and holy, all that is mortal and immortal, into our hearts, minds, and bodies. May it be so, and amen. I light a candle for the joys and concerns of those beloveds joining us virtually. And I light a candle for all else that we hold in our hearts and our minds this morning. If your heart is hurting, know that your community is here to help, as am I. Please reach out with any needs.
Our invitation to the offering is by Victoria Weinstein. The purpose of the church is to encourage all who gather there to grow more generous in spirit and in action. This is the great end of all the world's faith traditions, to bring the human being closer to the divine by acts of creation and compassion. We now take an offering that allows us to exercise that all-important generosity of spirit, an offering that will support this self-supporting church and its many ministries. The gifts of the congregation will be most gratefully received. For those who are watching the service online, you may contribute to our virtual offering plate using the donate button on our website or by mailing a check to the new church office. The address will be posted in the chat. I now invite the ushers forward to receive the offering. Our first reading is a quote by Joan D. Chittister. Hospitality is simply love on the loose. Our second reading is from Setting a Place for Elijah by Reverend Amy Zucker Morgenstern. The story is told in many lands and many times. The god, the prince, the prophet travels in disguise. He or she can bring gifts of good fortune and happiness. Whether we receive these gifts depends on whether we welcome the unwelcome. The gifts will seldom come from the source we expect. They will come from experiences we would rather have avoided. They will be given to us by people we imagine have nothing at all we want. And so this story, wherever it is told, gives the same advice. Prepare a place for the unwelcome. Welcome them in, because they will bring you gifts beyond your wildest dreams. I invite you now to rise in body or spirit to join our voices in hymn 404, What Gift Can We Bring?
There was once a thriving monastery which began to crumble, falling apart at the seams as numbers dwindled and beloved monks left this refuge. There were but a handful, including their leader, the abbot, that remained. Those who persisted bickered and fought as they blamed one another for the downfall of the monastery. One day, a traveling rabbi visited the sacred space in hopes of a night's rest. The monks and abbot and rabbi joined together over a shared meal and a communal prayer. As the sun rose the following morning, as the rabbi was preparing to leave, the abbot pulled him aside. The abbot lamented the array of difficulties that had befallen the monastery, asking for the rabbi's advice and wisdom. The rabbi replied, "The monks will not listen to the advice I have to offer. Perhaps, however, they could learn from observation." For, he elaborated, "the Messiah dwells among you here at this monastery. The abbot replied, astonished, who among us is the Messiah? I cannot say, replied the rabbi. Tell your monks, and soon it will be revealed. The abbot spread this blessed news among the monks. The monks mused about this together in earnest, wondering who the Messiah may be. Things began to change at the monastery, as each monk began to see the Messiah in the other's eyes, and hear the Messiah, sacred words spoken on each other's lips. Soon the monks that had left returned, and the monastery thrived. Stories similar to this one are shared throughout faith traditions, sacred beings hidden in the ordinary and the mundane, interacting with humans entirely unawares. In Paul's letter to the Hebrews, as offered in the New Testament, the disciple wrote, "Do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers, for by doing that, some have entertained angels without knowing it." A minister reflecting on the Greek mythological story of Philemon and Baucis we heard earlier can offer us that quote, "The gods travel in disguise. He or she can bring gifts of good fortune and happiness." How can the world and each blessed soul in it be blessed if we engage with every being as if they were the Messiah? As if they were a goddess or an angel or a prince or a prophet in disguise. What a Messiah is, what an angel is, this is unique to each of us in blessed and holy ways. And yet we can offer that there is a God or a goddess, a spirit of love, or a great eternal mystery that lives and resides among us. The monks bickered and fought and argued as they blamed one another for the downfall of their monastery, but rejoiced when they were invited to see the holy in each other's eyes, to heard on each other's lips. It became a blessed invitation. That theme we're exploring this month, these stories evoke a wider invitation, one that stretches beyond our comfort zone. One that includes and celebrates strangers, as well as ideas and worldviews that expand our minds. One that is not simply welcome, which is passive, but an active verb of intention, intentional invitation. So, what do these specific stories offer? An invitation to see the holy in each other's eyes, to treat everyone as if they were a God, the most sacred being in this realm or another. This is how life flourishes, as with the monks, a tale of disarray and angst becomes one of welcome and love as the holy entered it. And so, who might the Messiah be? In Christianity, the Messiah is held among the least of these, the addicts, the ill, the poor, the ostracized. What if the Messiah likewise dwelled in your mail carrier, the cashier at Safeway, your cousin with vastly different political ideologies, the stranger on the street? Who might the Messiah be? Which leads to another question. Not only who is the Messiah, but how can we welcome them, invite them into our lives? An ancient practice of welcome and invitation is to share a meal. Come into my house where you will be fed. This ham, it is for you. This salad, please indulge. Oops. These vegetables, fill yourself. What if we left an empty seat, one with a plate filled with food placed in front of it, expecting no one, yet inviting the chance of entertaining a Messiah, a sacred being, an unexpected guest? My mother did just this. Spaghetti was her offering, and the neighborhood children and youth were her Messiah. Always the door was open to those who wanted to have a shared meal. And often those who arrived were those with no family meals, who wanted to be cared for just as they wanted to be fed. A Messiah? Perhaps. May this metaphor serve to guide you. Exploring true invitation and inclusivity flips our understanding of the world, just as does this idea of offering the Messiah a bowl of spaghetti and marinara sauce. Angel Kyoto Williams Sensei offers this. Inclusivity is not, how do we make you a part of who we are, but how do we become more of who you are? Who is we? When I think of we in the context of this statement, I think of what has been taught as ideal. There is a facade of superiority, of excellence, of supremacy. White, cisgender, wealthy, educated, heterosexual, able-bodied, and beautiful. And the you in this context? Those on the margins. Poor, addicted, black or brown, transgender. How can you become more like us? No. How can we celebrate you and learn from your journeys and become stronger and wiser and more compassionate for it? Your strength, your perseverance, your hard-won insights and wisdom. How do we become more like you? Hospitality, invitation, this becomes a moral issue, it becomes a values issue, it becomes an integrity issue, and it challenges us to live with love at the center. Let us stretch our margins. Let us broaden our understanding of inclusivity and intention. No one should feel shame for being just who they are. Now let us bring these abstract ideas into the trials and tribulations of today. We live in a time that is entirely divisive. Likewise, we live in a time where we can be bold, brave, and compassionate, aligning with our morals, our values, our integrity. When I reflect upon the state of our country this September of 2024, I think of politics. The huge schism between liberals and conservatives growing ever stronger as the election looms ahead of us. We've grown not to see each other as people, but as inherent adversaries. We dehumanize one another due to political strife. And yet, last week we spoke of love and kindness meditation, praying for the well-being of all, even our enemies. Each time an opponent is seen as fully human, with joys and sorrows, delights and laments, those fighting for division lose a small battle. Even more compelling, may we learn about one another. May we open a doorway for understanding that invites compassion and understanding, not hatred and division. How can we invite an opponent into our lives? May we be curious of others' histories. The question, where do these ideologies arise from? Why do these policies speak to you? And we uphold our values, and we uphold our convictions, and we uphold our morals, and we uphold our liberal faith, and encourage and invite others to share this love and this compassion as well. Not to proselytize, but to converse, to talk, to ask questions. For to initiate this, to initiate conversation, this is a sacred act of invitation, an invitation towards compassion and understanding. May a perceived enemy be the Messiah. In reflecting on that perhaps difficult question, I invite us to return to an opening quote pulled from a minister's reflection on the Greek mythological story of Philemon and Baucis, comparing it to a wide array of similar stories. Quote, the god, the prince, the prophet travels in disguise. He or she can bring gifts of good fortune and happiness. These gifts, Reverend Amy Zucker Morgenstern elaborates, will come from experiences we would rather have avoided. They will be given to us by people we imagine have nothing at all we want. What gifts we receive when we welcome those society would rather ignore, when we receive those who seemingly have nothing. I think of the addicts I have met who taught me about the true faith and the power of perseverance. Was that a goddess murmuring strength to me? I think of the unhoused blind man who regularly stood outside my seminary, brought coffee and treats from all who knew him and grew to love him. He taught me the power of compassion and strength. Was that an angel whispering love into my unexpected ears? I think of a rejected man in a hospital when I was a chaplain, named in the charts simply John Doe, whose hand I held each day, teaching me the power of quiet, consistent compassion. Was that an offering of a spirit, or the spirit of life, the great eternal mystery? These gifts are far greater than even the most extravagant monetary acquisitions, jewels or cars or yachts or exquisite vacations. They are offerings of happiness and good fortune. Would I be who I am today without these hidden, unexpected lessons? No, I would not. Prepare a place at the table for the unwelcome and welcome them in. A God, a prince, a prophet. They will bring you gifts beyond your wildest dreams. Offer a placemat. Offer love. Nun and theologian Joan D. Chittister offers us this. Hospitality is simply love on the loose. Love in our homes, our neighborhoods, our states, our countries, our world. Rippling out one small act at a time until all of humanity is held in loving embrace. Let love run rampant, welcoming all to a table of spaghetti and marinara sauce. For this, beloved, is a wider welcome. What if we saw every being in the streets through the lens of love and beauty? Through a lens not distorted by unsolicited cultural norms of white, rich, cisgender beauty, but a raw, real, authentic beauty. Skin that is coal black. Bodies that have learned to navigate the world on wheels. But love is of any gender twirling in the sidewalk with skirts billowing up around them. Angels whispering notes of strength and love and perseverance and beauty into our ears. For this is to invite genuine beauty. You are beloved, and we would cherish your presence. We need one another, monks and rabbis and goddesses alike. Loss, sorrow, mourning, and lamentation, yes. A shoulder to cry on, a hug to catch a body falling to the ground, and likewise through joys and celebrations of all of life's wonders. So may we never leave another blessed being alone. Invite them in. Unconditionally invite them in. For you are beautiful. You just might be the Messiah. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Remember the invitation cards we referenced last week. May we slip a small note of love and compassion and invitation to share joys and laments alike into the mailbox of every blessed being. 4, let us challenge ourselves with this idea. We are more alike than we are unalike. There are entirely unnecessary dichotomies that we have created which serve to divide rather than create any sort of betterment for society. Black and white, old and young, rich and poor, able-bodied and disabled. What of all the blessings we hold in common? We all desire to be loved. We all desire community. We desire fun. We desire a life that will be remembered after we have left this realm. So, when we invite one another, any other, we invite a beloved, kindred soul. Think of this amidst layers of division and opposition and anger and strife. We are all kindred souls. So let us strive for beautiful commonalities here, now in this sacred space, sacred and hallowed space, our sanctuary. Together, may we welcome strangers into both the daily monotony and the most intimate moments of our lives. May we look for the Messiah among us, seeing the sacred in each other's eyes, hearing the holy in each other's words, and as such inviting one another into the shared depths of our hearts and souls. May we invite all to share our meals of cabbage and onions and scallions with that empty seat, ready each day for the Messiah to arrive and be welcomed in. May we grow from another. May we see the beauty in another's eyes and hear the compassion in another's words and cherish this, finding another's strength and striving to embody this. For alone we are lost. Together we are found. In times of stark division, may we choose to invite love and curiosity and wonder and conviction instead of aversion and animosity and anger and hate. May we be on the lookout for those unexpected gifts, for hospitality is love on the loose. The Messiah is among us. May our lives be one continuous act of sacred, blessed, holy invitation. May it be so, and amen. Okay. All right. Our next hymn is 1017, Building a New Way, in the Teal hymnal. Gabby will lead us through the hymn the first time, and then we are all invited to join in. How to follow that. May we leave this sacred and hallowed space, ready to receive a goddess or an angel, a Messiah or a prophet, unexpected and unbeknownst, with arms wide open. May we leave this sanctified morning prepared to invite every beloved being into our lives, hearts, and souls through blessed acts of sacred, holy, beautiful intent. Go in peace and amen.